I want an exclusive under the wire partnership. Okay. And if you plant 40 acres, I'll take all 40 acres.
I heard that.
I heard it too.
Is the tape rolling?
Yeah. But now let's fast forward to what you have. You know, obviously a lot of work in developing this place. I mean, I can't imagine the amount of clearing, the environmental impact studies that you had to do. Mm-hmm. So when you first started planning this, how many acres did you first start planting here?
We really started with about 10 acres.
Okay.
Because we were in such a remote area,
right.
We didn't know what varieties you could grow here. We didn't even know that you could grow here.
Right.
As a matter of fact, the people who had owned this ranch were grape growers, and they said, you cannot grow grapes here. So that made me, not having been a grape grower, made me a little nervous.
But you're also a little stubborn, you know?
Yeah.
A farmer has to be a little stubborn.
Yeah, I'm definitely stubborn. And so I thought, okay, let's start out, we'll grow some grapes. Yeah. If it's a total failure, we'll stop. And then we also didn't know, are we a cool site? Are we a warmer site? What's gonna grow best here? Are you gonna be, is this a cab site or is this a Pinot site? Right. Is this something in the middle? So we started out by planting Pinot and cab. And then we thought, all right, we won't plant any more until we make a good bottle of wine.
Wow. And when was the good bottle of wine that was made?
Actually, we had Chardonnay for Patson Hall. It was one of the best wines they'd made ever, right at the first season.
Yeah.
And so we thought, well, okay, we're doing something right. And
James Hall is definitely one of the reasons that we're up
well,
here.
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, his wine's from Alder Spring. Shout out to James Hall, good friend. We made our wines there for a few years.
Yeah.
In their winery. So that first Patson Hall Chardonnay, that's when you kind of was like, ooh,
this,
we have potential.
Yeah. We for sure, we thought we'd done some really nice things. And then Tasha McCorkle from Whitethorn Winery made some early Cab Merlot blends that were just stupendous.
I tasted one of those a couple years ago.
Yeah.
From like maybe the mid 90s.
Yeah.
That was drinking beautifully.
Yeah.
I imagine when it was young, it probably was pretty, but with 25 years of age on it, it was singing.
Yeah, 1999, Whitethorn was stupendous and still is.
Yeah. But now you have how many acres planted?
We've got about 150
50,
total acres. Some is in and out of production, and some is being switched around, and this, that, and the other, but that'll be the total.
How many blocks in that 150 acres?
About 150.
Yeah, so an acre a block, it makes sense. It's simple math.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better to keep it simple. And then how many varieties are you growing here currently, Stu?
Well, we do a lot of experimentation. We've got about 47 varieties, 197 different clones, 14 different rootstocks. So we do a lot of, I think it's 1,970 possible combinations or some crazy thing like that.
1,970 possible combinations at Alder Spring. I can't think of any other place in California like that, really. I mean, there's not, particularly at the high end where you have maybe Lunda Vista Vineyard out in Lodi has a bunch of stuff, but you're one of the few that really, between rootstock, clonal, and varietal selection, you are as diverse as it gets.
Yep.
And now, what has been some of the challenges of your farming where you have no neighbors to borrow a cup of sugar or a tractor from? You know, getting people up here is tough.
That's tough.
Environmental stuff, you've thought heavily about how you impact, how agricultural affects the natural.
Yeah.
And so, like, what are some of the things that you've had to battle up here that have been the challenges up here? Because this is obviously not an easy place to grow and farm.
I think that the challenge is, there's many, but one of the most important things is, it was important to us to protect the streams and the water. We're the headwaters of the Eel River here, and we have 4 year-round streams that are salmon spawning streams. We have coho salmon, king salmon, and steelhead. And we do not want the dirt from our vineyard or any materials from the vineyard to get into those streams and affect the salmon and spawning or the young salmon and so forth. So you'll see we run a permanent cover crop, and every vineyard on the ranch we plant the grass, we bring it up with sprinklers, and it is never tilled from that moment on. So this vineyard's probably about 17 to 18 years old. It's never been tilled. Yeah. And once it was established, we keep and protect that soil, and we just mow it. And we're trying to build up the carbon in the soil, build up the organic matter and stuff like that. That's been important. And everything we do is we look at how to protect the water, protect the soils, and protect the environment.
You, before we started filming, you said, I learn from my mistakes more than I do my successes when farming here. And I think, a lot of people say that, but Stu actually is someone who follows that. I think the one exception to that is you've never compromised on your environmental impact. That's always been, you'll make mistakes in other things, planting things, root stock with a variety, farming, it's not always perfect. But when it comes to environmental stuff, that's kind of been like no compromise for you.
We've tried to always protect the environment and protect the water, protect the, use things, whatever you use, the most benign and so forth. And we spend a lot of time experimenting with new methods. We've got all sorts of systems that prevent erosion.
Yeah.
We've got a chevron system that stops the water every 50 feet and puts it into a drain so it doesn't build up velocity. We've got a reverse French drain system that filters all the water coming off the vineyard before it goes to the streams. And in a rainstorm where you're getting an inch an hour, to be able to filter a massive amount of water like that is took a brilliant and simple system. And so we do a lot of that stuff. And that's where, when I say we learn from our mistakes, the other thing is we don't try and, mistakes are an important part of the process.
Yeah.
If you're worried about never making a mistake, you're really not stretching yourself. You're not trying hard enough. And, if you never fall down skiing, you're kind of playing it too safe.
Yeah.
Get off of the green run and get on the black run and fall down.
Although after 2 knee surgeries, Stu, I'm back to going to the green and blue runs. But I see your arc. Yeah.
You got to fall down.
You got to fall down.
And
that's winemaking too. Farming and winemaking, both of that. If you're not challenging yourself, why are you doing it?
Yeah. So we're trying all sorts of stuff. We're making some mistakes, and but sometimes you run across a real success.
Well, I think one of the successes that we ran across in 2012 immediately was that this site makes pretty darn good sparkling wine.
I'm glad to hear that.
So we started working with Alder in 2012 for sparkling, 2011 or 10 for red, I want to say, was the first year. But for sparkling, had anyone ever made sparkling wine at the ranch?
No, not a person. You're the very first.
I'm the debut. And we're standing in our Pinot Noir block here. So in 2012, we just started with Chardonnay from the experiment block. And now we're standing in the Pinot Noir block. What has been, now I can't believe it, we're on 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, our 8th vintage of making sparkling wine together. Can you believe that actually?
It's flown by quickly.
It's flown by.
Flown by.
What has been sort of the experience of it, because for so long you said you have 45 clients?
Yes.
In the ranch currently? But never had a spark. What's been the experience of working with me and Morgan on sparkling wine?
Oh, it's been fascinating. First of all, I can't say that I'm an expert on sparkling wines.
Neither can I.
But it's been really it's been a great experience. Great for the ranch because it allows us to spread out harvest. We start early on the sparkling wines. You're obviously picking them at a higher acids and a lower Brix level, less sugar, and
I'm always proud we're kind of the warm-up. The warm-up pick for when harvest is about to get going, we kind of warm up the crew and get everyone stretching. And everyone's always in a good mood for sparkling wine picks.
Absolutely. And I think that's been great. And I think the thing that's funny is once you go through veraison and, before you know it, you're right at the perfect moment. And so, boy, it does. We got to get everything ready. We got to get all the bins clean and the tractors and the lights and everything out there. And it's a good warm up.
You know, and it's really appreciated because you and Natalie, shout out to Natalie, kind of is your fixer, your grower relation person. Because Alder Springs is so far away, I mean, from the winery, on a good day, it's a 2.5 hour drive. These guys really do a great job of getting our back and making sure that they're giving us updates so that when we do come up here, you know, we're probably about 7 days, I'm guessing, give or take, away from picking this for bubbles. But you're always really good at being on top of that and communicating, sending out that giant spread. That occasionally has one of my favorite things on a sampling spread. You know, every block they'll send out a spread with sugars and they'll be sampling and pHs. But occasionally on that spreadsheet there's BD. What does BD stand for?
BD?
Bear damage.
Oh, yes. Well, yes, our bears, local bears, have a tendency to be exuberant and hungry. And they actually prefer this block back over here. They really love Viognier.
Oh, interesting.
That's their favorite variety.
Because, you know, deer really love Petite Syrah.
Oh.
In Bedrock, if the deer gets in, it'll skip over, because it's all mixed, right?
Yeah.
It'll just eat the Petite Syrah vines.
Wow. Well, bears
love Viognier.
Bears love Viognier. And so they're very thoughtful about it. They haven't been damaging the vines very much.
Oh, okay.
But
So
they start on the end rows, closest to the forest, and then they kind of work their way down the row. And then when they're full, they leave, and then they come back and they start right there the next night.
We got to have a subcategory of bears called Condru bears.
There you are. There you are. And anyway, they're definitely, last year I think they picked 40 tons.
Oh, Jesus.
Something like that. It was quite a bit of, a couple of our clients did not get all their orders. And we're hoping that the bear population isn't quite as large as it was last year, but we are seeing some signs of bears early this season.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe they're going to start getting, we are in Mendocino after all, maybe they're going to start getting a little bit of a green tooth at some point as well.
Yes.
Well, it's an incredible ranch. I could talk to you for hours about in vine row weed control and clone and rootstock combinations. And how you grow rootstock here. I mean, before they plant a block, they'll grow the rootstock in that block for 7 years.
Oh, easy.
Which is unusual, the thoughtfulness of how they let stuff go fallow. Also, I just found out today, confirmed, next year, Pinot Meunier.
Yes.
So we make Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Stu was kind enough to plant us an acre of Pinot Meunier, so there will be Pinot Meunier coming from under the wire in a few years. But we're in the middle of the wilderness. We're in the middle of a beautiful vineyard. It's one of the most special vineyards that I work with, and it has a real deep connection to when I first moved out here. And what you've done here is inspirational, and you're a great friend and a great mentor, and let's keep making bubbles together.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Stu.
Okay, thank you.